questions for India with me, Punita Kumar Sinha. This week the question we are asking is, can shale gas secure India's energy future? Shale gas has been touted as the next big thing in energy revolution world over. The world's largest economies, the US and China, are investing a lot of thought and money to build shale gas assets and develop shale gas technology. For India too, energy security, especially clean energy, is a key issue since oil imports at $144 billion is the largest part of its import bill. India imports about 80% of its oil, which accounts for about 30% of its energy needs. Moreover, India is the fourth largest importer of crude oil in the world, and its per capita consumption is low and increasing rapidly. Oil demand in 2012-13 increased by 4.7%, amongst the highest historically. Also, natural gas fulfills 10% of India's energy needs, and India imports about 25% of the same. So is shale gas the answer for India's energy needs? The timing is important as the government recently cleared the shale gas policy under which Oil India and ONGC will be allowed to drill wells and tap India's shale gas reserves. Joining me today to discuss the subject are Bill Holland, Associate Editor, Platts Gas Daily; Vikram Mehta, former CEO at Shale India, and he's currently the Chairman of Brookings India; and Narendra Kumar Verma, Director Exploration at ONGC. Thank you very much to all of you for joining me today. Vikram, let me start with you first. What challenges will India face in drilling shale gas?
There are some very crucial kind of problems or issues that have to be resolved for any company that is embarked on an exploration program for unconventional or shale gas or tight oil molecules. And there are three in particular that are relevant for India. One is that it's a very drilling intensive activity. So if, for example, you needed to delineate a conventional oil or gas reservoir, you might need to drill, say, 12 wells. A similar sized reservoir, similar sized accumulation of hydrocarbons in unconventionals or in shale would require you to drill 700 wells. So there's a huge difference between the drilling activity in shale versus the drilling activity required for conventionals. Now, the consequence of that means that you need large contiguous land mass in order to actually embark on a shale exploration program. You can't embark on such a program if you have access to only small plots of land. So in India, for example, where landholding is relatively small, you would need to negotiate a land deal or a license deal with a number of farmers in order to acquire this contiguous plot of land in which to embark on an exploration program. In America, for example, that problem doesn't arise because the landlords have thousands of acres under their control. A third sort of issue that comes up is environmental. There is no conclusive sort of evidence that shale exploration has resulted in environmental damage, but there is a lot of concern that the combination of water and chemicals and salt does in fact result in, or could in fact result in, the pollution of groundwater, and it could also result in surface contamination.
Does India have enough reserves and therefore potential for shale, or is it just a hype that may not become a reality?
No, the government of India has already commissioned two studies, and they have the results of those two studies. One study was carried out by the US Geological Survey, and the second study was carried out by the International Energy Agency. Both those studies have established that at least 4 of our sedimentary basins, and they've actually only studied 7 sedimentary basins, and there are 26 sedimentary basins in India. So of the 7 that have been studied, these 2 studies have established that 4 do contain shale rock, and they've also estimated that there could be anywhere between 65 trillion cubic feet to 100 trillion cubic feet of technically recoverable shale reserves. Now, there's a big difference between technical recoverability and, of course, the eventual proven and producible reserves.
Mr. Verma, turning to you, does India have enough shale gas reserves? The regulator has said that of the 350 blocks held by ONGC and Oil India, 176 could hold shale resources. How has ONGC determined the potential reserves in its fields, and how confident are you of your estimates?
Ma'am, actually there are a couple of issues related to this. One is, of course, the presence of shale gas and oil in Indian basins. We had some studies undertaken by independent agencies from the US, and as per that study conducted in 3 basins, we have got around 65 TCF of recoverable gas from these 3 basins reservoirs. And there is another study undertaken by EIA in 2013 on 5 basins, and which puts the shale gas reserves around 91 TCF. But before that, we would like to mention that basically right now we don't have enough data to predict the total quantum of shale gas which can be produced from Indian basins, because in the past hardly any sampling and studies have been made to assess the shale gas reserves in the past. And there are 3 Indian basins. But one thing we need to keep in mind that we have got producing oil and gas basins in Cambay, Assam, KG, Kaveri.
Bill, turning to you, have you seen estimates of reserves in the US exceed expectations, and could we see the same happen in India?
Absolutely. I mean, one of the things is, India was first estimated to have 39 TCF of shale reserves. That was by the U.S. Geologic Survey. The latest numbers I'm reading is around 63 to 65 TCF. My experience in America with shale is that those estimates only get larger, and they get larger when people start to drill and they start to see what's there.
Well, given the costs involved in exploring shale gas, is the much talked about shale gas revolution, which has impacted natural gas prices globally, truly the next energy opportunity, or is it more hype than hope there?
First of all, the costs are not high, at least here in the United States. The drillers have steadily reduced the cost of what it takes them to get gas out of the ground to below $1 per 1,000 cubic feet. In return, we've had a 2/3 cut in our natural gas prices here in the United States. We have, frankly, a glut, a surplus of gas. So in a lot of ways, the shale revolution, if you will, far exceeded anybody's expectations. Nobody expected quite this supply response that we've seen, which has left the United States in a position of now being able to export gas to the world.
Mr. Verma, given how difficult it is to drill shale gas, can India do it economically so that the companies and consumers both benefit? You've said that 4 wells will cost around 150 to 200 crores, and that shale oil and gas wells are 2.5 times costlier than conventional oil and gas.
You are absolutely correct, because in the US and other countries where the shale gas is being produced, the average cost of the well drilling and fracking is around 3 times of the conventional oil and gas wells. So that is a ground reality, and that too after maturing and good ground support from the service industries in those countries, which at the moment we are lacking. So in our case, the figures may be slightly higher than that. But then if you are getting sufficient fiscal incentives and service industry support, then definitely it will be economical. But policies have to be formulated to replicate the same kind of the fiscal regime here in India. And a couple of issues are again there. One is, of course, the water resource availability, then the mineral rights to the landowners, because that is the one main differentiator as compared to US with reference to India. Because in US, the subsurface mineral rights are owned by the landowner, and that gives the motivation for the landowners to make their land available for providing the exploration and exploitation facilities.
Mr. Verma, in a statement in September, you spoke of problems that companies could face in shale gas exploration due to the land acquisition bill. How large a problem could this present to shale gas exploration in India in the long run?
It's one of the most critical elements to have a viable shale gas operations.
Bill, if it has taken US so many years, how long will it take ONGC and Oil India to start commercial operations of shale gas in India?
Well, basically you can skip the first 20 years because all that technology and all that engineering and all that trial and error has been done. The laboratory was here. Your Indian companies have come over here. They've tapped into that, and they're going to be able to start off right away. Now, how many wells you can get drilled and is a function. How many wells you can get drilled and how much production you can get going is going to be not only a function of their expertise, but also a function of how much water you can spare for this, how much public resistance or cooperation you get with this. So there's a lot of factors that figure into this beyond just the simple engineering of drilling. If it was just a simple engineering and drilling holes in the ground, Indian companies are ready to go right now.
Vikram, turning to you, is drilling shale gas going to be affordable for India? You know, if natural gas prices fall below a certain level, it may make shale gas uneconomical for India. So what price of natural gas would make shale gas drilling uneconomical?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, that's the whole point. I mean, is it going to be affordable? Now, this is in fact an increasing concern in amongst the American companies. They went into shale when the price was $6.5, as I said. Today, they are only receiving $3.5. A large number of companies have actually started to shift away from unconventional because of the economics. So you're making a good point here. You know that it's not as if it's a slam dunk that you're going to be it's going to be a commercial exercise.
Mr. Verma, at current price of natural gas, will it be economical for you to produce shale?
4.2, I don't think shale gas will be produced.
Vikram, if shale gas exploration needs to be made viable, does the price have to be market-linked and not regulated as we see natural gas prices in India currently?
Well, the contracts for all the other oil and gas exploration and production sort of operations are actually, or do spell out that the price will be market determined. I agree that there has been a shift in that thinking, and the price of gas, for instance, that's coming out of the KG D6 basin has been administratively set. But if you look at the actual contract, it very clearly stipulates that these prices, whether it's oil or whether it's gas, should be related to the market.
Mr. Verma, what is your view on pricing of shale gas in India? Should it be regulated?
I think best ideal case will be let the market decide the price regime, because ultimately that will depend on the global supplies of LNGs, availability across the Indian shores, as well as the domestic gas production, plus the shale gas and CBM.
So, Mr. Verma, when will we have commercial production start in India?
Right now we are in the assessment phase. So as we are hearing in the government policy, we'll be having initial 3 to 4 years for assessment and reserve estimation. So we'll be drilling the assessment wells and bringing out the reserve estimation to realistic levels, and then we'll plan for development and production, commercial production.
Mr. Verma, there have been recent reports of ONGC and Oil India looking to tap foreign expertise for their forthcoming explorations. But given that ONGC already has acquired shale gas assets around the world, how much will this foreign expertise really help you?
Foreign expertise in initial assessment, that will be critical, and well designing to locate the sweet spots, and also our well to have actual assessment. That will be initial requirement for collaboration with the overseas partners. And then again, to replicate that operational part, that means to grid drilling and then hydrofracking, then Indian industries is not capable of doing that. So we need to collaborate with the overseas service providers to bring that capability to India.
Mr. Verma, why do we have the policy of first allowing only PSU companies like yourself and Oil India when companies like Reliance have apparently better technology and experience globally?
As far as the technology availability is concerned and better technology availability is concerned, I am not sure whether Reliance or any other company has got a better technology in terms of the shale gas operations. That's true that they are operating in the US, and Oil India is also operating in the US, and we are having shoulder-to-shoulder interaction with our collaborator, ConocoPhillips. We are already collaborating in the Cambay, and we are having access to similar technology and better technology.
Will, do you have any views on India's policy in allowing only government companies to drill shale?
The only part I can't help you with is this weird policy your government had to let the state-run companies have the first go and put Reliance in the back end. But I mean, you have to understand that if the price for natural gas, what I understand of the new energy policy, is going to be $8 and change, that is double the price here in the United States. Okay, and if Reliance has learned to get it out of the ground for $1, $8 is how much percentage profit? I mean, it's enormous. There's going to be an incredible incentive for them to start drilling and start drilling fast.
Vikram, do you have any thoughts on this?
I'm not quite sure why they've limited it only to the public sector companies. I would have preferred if they had opened it up to the private companies as well, because clearly this is a resource that can only be fully harnessed if we bring together the capabilities of both the public and the private sectors.
Bill, how do you see shale gas help India?
India's demand for natural gas, and actually India's demand for all forms of energy, is going to, in the case of natural gas, it's going to double in the next 5 years. Granted, that's coming off a relatively small number. But natural gas is not just for cooking and for heating your home. It's also a big feedstock for fertilizer, which is food. That's where India's demand is going to come from. It's going to come from the need for more gas for fertilizer, and also more gas for power generation for electrification. Those are the two big drivers for India. How can shale gas help? If it can be developed responsibly, and that's a big if, given India's population and also its lack of water. But if it can be developed responsibly, India could see what the United States is seeing, which is petrochemical companies coming back to U.S. shores, fertilizer companies being rejuvenated, factories being reopened, all because it's such a cheap feedstock. To give you an example, India is paying $15 per 1,000 cubic feet to import liquefied natural gas right now. The cost of delivered U.S. gas, according to analysts I see, to Asia, which includes India, is $10.50 from the United States. The actual cost of gas in the United States has been between $3 and $4 for the last 2 years. The actual cost to the producers to get it out of the ground in places like the Marcellus Shale is 80 cents per 1,000 cubic feet. So you can see there's room in there for everybody to make a profit, and also for U.S. gas to undercut the price of world gas, which is linked to the price of oil.
Vikram, what policies need to be put in place to make shale gas commercially viable for companies in India?
The commercial viability of shale gas will depend on three things. One is, of course, that the licensing process, the approval process, is handled efficiently. Second, that the cost of the operations does not increase because of unexpected delays or because of bureaucratic involvement or procedural and shackles, you might say. So that's true. The third is, of course, the price. You have to ensure that the price that the companies get for the gas is market-based, is market-determined. And finally, you should have a contractual structure that encourages company to take the risk of exploring for these unconventional resources. So there must be fiscal incentives and a production sharing contract that allows the companies to reap the reward if indeed they're also prepared to take the risks.
Mr. Verma, turning to you. According to the U.S. Energy Information Administration, India could be sitting on about 26 years of its gas demand and shale reserve. How much of an impact could this have on India's energy requirements?
There are two things. There is a trend of gas replacing part of the oil requirement, but oil and gas have got their different areas of utility. So definitely increasing the gas availability will augment the energy supplies, but definitely it cannot replace the entire oil demand. That is first thing. Unless until there is a huge conversion of the transport sector into gas base. Of course, in India, we are ahead of other countries, including US. All our metros are having good network and good commercial vehicle and personal vehicle fleet, which is using CNGs. And if you can replicate that, there may be significant changeover from petrol and diesel requirement into gas requirement. And that scenario will be, of course, beneficial to India.
So, Vikram, do you believe that shale gas will take a long time before it can have meaningful impact on India's energy security?
Well, long term, of course, has to be defined. Let's say that we take a 10-year perspective, that is between 2013, let's say to the end of this decade. There is no doubt in my mind that we will be dependent almost entirely on conventional oil, gas, and coal for our energy requirements. But taking a longer view, I mean, going beyond the end of this decade, the endeavor must be to obviously tap or realize this pretty huge potential that we have.
Well, India should feel optimistic about the shale gas potential despite the problems.
No, I think for India you have to think about not only, I think the technical resources are already there with Reliance, ONGC, Oil India. I think that part's solved. I think the next parts are infrastructure and water, and both of those things encompass more than just getting water and building infrastructure. It also involves political decisions because people are going to have to move, people are going to have to be displaced, farms are going to have to be disrupted, which is nothing new for India as India comes into its own.
Mr. Verma, do you see more than 10 years for any meaningful supply to come through to help India's energy security?
We should not be that much passive because ultimately if in assessment period we feel that there is a excellent producibility of the gas from our reservoirs, so definitely that will have a additional motivation to bring quickly the best reservoirs into production. So I am not saying that will not produce in next 3 years, but this is the assessment period, and depending on the success of that assessment, well, we can fast track it, and provided we can, if the cost economics is positive, we'll definitely go ahead.
Thank you very much to all of you for your insights today. As we have learned, India is in early stages of drilling shale gas, and it could be several years before customers will have access to this shale gas. First, shale gas reserves have to be located, then resources acquired to drill it, and then drilling has to be economically viable. India does face many challenges in terms of land acquisition, technology, water, and other resources needed to drill shale gas economically. The government needs to set appropriate policies. It has taken the US almost 20 years to make shale gas a commercial success, but India can fast-track this process by the lessons it can learn from the US. Shale gas has dramatically reduced prices of natural gas in the US and improved US's energy resources. India can benefit immensely if shale gas helps bring down energy prices for the industry and consumers. India's energy security can improve with the discovery of shale gas in the country, reduce its import bill from crude oil, but all of this is going to take a long time still. With that, it's a wrap on 6 questions for India. Thank you very much for watching. On the next episode of 6 Questions for India, we're going to ask the question, can India deliver a billion consumers?